Did you know that over 50% of first-time cruisers make planning mistakes that can ruin their vacation? Let's talk about how to avoid that. In this video, I'm going to share with you 10 cruise planning mistakes to avoid to make sure that you have the best vacation. Many travelers can overlook some critical details when they are planning their cruise that can lead to unnecessary stress, missed opportunities, as well as some unexpected costs. Now let's take a look at 10 mistakes in detail, from not picking the right cruise line to forgetting essential travel documents that can potentially ruin your cruise. Mistake number 1, not picking out the right cruise line or ship for your cruise. Not all cruise lines are created equal, as well as not all cruise ships are created equal. So you want to do your research on what type of cruise are you looking to take. Is this an adults only cruise? Is this a family oriented cruise? Is this a group cruise? A party cruise? The sky is the limit. So you need to do your research on what cruise line you plan on going on, as well as what ship, because you have the small ships, the medium-sized ships, as well as the mega ships. So it all depends on what is it that you're looking for, and you need to do your research first before you end up on the wrong cruise ship. Mistake number 2, not looking at a deck plan when you are picking out your cabin. Now, the deck plans are available for you online when you are booking your cruise through Royal Caribbean. Keep in mind, if you are a person who is prone to seasickness, you are going to want to avoid cabins that are way up high on the deck, as well as forward cabins, because that is the motion. This is where you're going to feel the most motion of the ship when it's gliding through the waters. Same thing as far as if you are, say, for example, a light sleeper, or maybe you have kids and things like that you want to consider. You might want to avoid cabins towards the back as well, because you will feel motion as well as the thrusters when the ship is docking, and it's a huge vibration or so. I mean, not bad, but it is a vibration that it is noticeable on the aft, which is the back part of the cruise ship as well. You want to make sure as well, when you are looking at the deck map, if you have issues with noise, again, make sure that you pick a cabin where you have cabins below you, you have cabins on both sides of you, as well as you have cabins above your head. So with looking at the deck plan, you can see if, for example, you are picking a cabin on deck number 8, and you notice that when you go to deck number 9, it's the pool deck. So, or it might be the nightclub. You will hear it. So make sure that, if that's something that you want to avoid, make sure that you look to see what is above you as well as what is below you. Another thing to keep in mind when you are looking at the deck plan is if you see any open spaces or so, that there are no cabins there, but it's just an open space, that is more than likely the crew areas. And you will hear noises from that as well, from them coming in and out and, putting their things away or getting equipment. So be mindful of that as well when you are picking your cabin. One thing to note with the cabin, in addition to that, are if you are booking a suite or anything like that, they tend to be on the higher decks. So if a suite is what tickles your fancy, it is what it is. It's going to be on the higher deck, but you'll be in a nice grand room. So just make sure you take your seasickness medication then, if that's going to be an issue for you. Mistake number 3 that you want to avoid when you are planning your cruise is not researching your cruise port ahead of time. When you are booking your cruise, it basically lists what cruise ports you're going to be visiting. Take it upon yourself to go ahead, dig a little deeper, and research the cruise port. Find out what's around the cruise port that you're going to be visiting. Is it a safe area? Can you venture out by yourself and be comfortable doing that? How long is the taxi ride or the bus ride or whatever it may be? How is the terrain? Look at the excursions that you're thinking about doing at that port. Is this something that you can tolerate? Is there going to be climbing involved? A 1-2 hour bus drive to wherever you're going? Because you might want to consider the people that you're traveling with, if they have any limited mobility issues, if you have little ones that you're traveling with, are you really going to want to sit in the bus for 2 hours or so to make it to an excursion? So keep that in mind and research the port that you are traveling to, so that way you are well prepared when you get there and there are no surprises. Mistake number 4 to avoid when planning your cruise is not remembering to put your phone on airplane mode. This is a big one because some people think that because they have certain cell plans or things like that, their phone does not need to be on airplane mode. But once you get out into those open waters and your phone is not on airplane mode and it's trying to find a satellite or so to get service off of, you will be in for a rude awakening when you come home to a nice hefty cell phone bill. So make it a point to put your phone on airplane mode. Any smartwatches that you may have that, will also trigger off any cellular data, you want to do that. Any tablets as well. Airplane mode is a must when you are planning. Mistake number 5 that you want to avoid when you are planning your next cruise is not forgetting to purchase travel insurance. Now, we've already researched the cruise, you've looked at the prices, you've paid your taxes, your ports and your fees and your gratuities. Here it comes, travel insurance. And make sure when you do get the travel insurance, you want to make sure that you research the travel insurance that you are purchasing, because not all travel insurances are created the same. So some may cover certain things or certain amounts. So do your research on that and make sure that you do have travel insurance, because the last thing that you would want is to have to visit the medical facility on the cruise ship and you didn't have travel insurance, and now they're going to send you a nice bill, or which you have to pay prior to you leaving the ship, okay? Because you didn't have travel insurance, or, God forbids that you're on an excursion and something happens, someone twists their ankle or trips over a rock, and now you have to be in a medical facility. So please make sure that you have travel insurance to cover it, because your insurance back here in the States will not cover what happens to you overseas. So do not make that mistake by not having travel insurance for your cruise. Mistake number 6 that you want to avoid when you are planning your cruise is not having the proper travel documents. This is a big one. So you've already planned your cruise, wherever you're going to, and now you have to make sure that you have the proper travel documents. Make sure your passport is still valid. Okay, depending on when your cruise is, you have to make sure that your passport, according to Royal Caribbean, I can't speak for any other cruise line, that if your passport, if your cruise, for example, is in the month of December, you have to make sure that your passport does not expire until 6 months after your cruise. That is their rule on that. You want to make sure you have a proper travel document. Make sure your name, if you did have a name change or you got married or divorced or whatever it may be, make sure your name is valid on the travel document, as well as it is the same name that you're using on your booking as well. So you want to make sure that, you didn't book your trip on some nickname or so. If you're using a birth certificate, you want to make sure you have that with you as well. Florida ID or whatever ID that you're using, you want to make sure that you have the proper travel documents, as well as if you are visiting certain ports that require visas. You want to look into that and make sure that you have the proper visas to get in and out of that country on your cruise. So that is one mistake that you want to keep in mind to avoid when you are planning your cruise. Mistake number 7 that you want to avoid when you are planning your cruise is not remembering to bring 2 bottles of wine if you are a drinker. Now, according to Royal Caribbean's website, you are allowed to bring 2 bottles of wine or champagne, but this only applies to each adult in a cabin. Okay, so each adult in a cabin is allowed to bring 1 750 milliliters of a bottle of wine or champagne as well to their liking on the cruise, which has to be in your carry-on bag. You can't put it in your checked luggage, okay? And you are also allowed to bring 12 cans of whether it be your favorite soda or anything like that on board the ship as well, which also has to be in your carry-on bag. So take that if that applies to you and you would like to have a drink and you would like to save some money, to make sure that you take advantage of that and don't make that mistake by not bringing it. Mistake number 8 that you want to avoid when you are planning your cruise is booking your flight for the same day. Make sure that if you are coming in from out of town because you do not live near a port, you want to make sure at least you fly into wherever the city is that you are going on your cruise at least one day before, prior to. I know it's adding on to the expense, but you need to budget for that. Do not, absolutely do not fly in on the same day of your cruise, as well as do not book your flight to return back home on the same day, I would say, if that's available to you, or at least don't book your flight for that morning of when you're getting back from your cruise, because there are unforeseen delays. If something is held up by customs, traffic, weather, anything can happen to where you would miss your flight, as far as missing your cruise to go, as far as missing your flight to go back home. So make it a point, don't make that mistake, and book your flights for the day of. Mistake number 9 that you want to avoid when you are planning for your cruise is not pre-booking your dining, your drink packages, your internet, as well as your excursions. Now, after you have booked your cruise, make it a point, log on to the Royal Caribbean website, into the cruise planner, or you can do it on your app as well, and go ahead and book whatever it is that you find interest in that you want to do while you're on your cruise, okay? Now, keep in mind though, even though you may be paying a price right now, Royal Caribbean always offers sales for all of these items, so that way you can always cancel it and rebook it at a lower price. But at least you've booked it ahead of time and you've locked it in. Now, the thing with that is that Royal Caribbean does this thing that's called dynamic pricing. So today it might be, say for example, a drink package is $80 per person per day. And the next time, it may go down to $75 per person per day. So what I would go ahead and do is I would cancel the first booking, and then you have the option to go right ahead and rebook it, or should I say repurchase it at the lower price. Okay, but you don't want to sit around and wait and say, oh, I'm going to wait till it hit this number. I'm going to wait for this sale or anything like that. Because what can happen as well is, instead of it going from 80 to 75, it can go to 80 to 100, because it does that as well. So if you see something that you want to do, your internet, your dining, your drink packages, your excursions, because the excursions can sell out as well, just pre-book it. And if something happens later on down the line and you decide you don't want to do it anymore, or it's at a lower rate, then you can go ahead and cancel altogether, or cancel and rebook. Mistake number 10 to avoid when you are planning your cruise is not repricing your cruise prior to your final payment date. So now repricing your cruise is basically, you booked your cruise in March, you notice that there's a promotion going on, say in April or May, and you call up Royal Caribbean, or you call up your travel agent if you're using one, and you say, hey, I see a promotion going on, is my cruise that I'm booked on, did the price go down? And they'll look into it for you. And if the price did go down and you have not made your final payment, that is the key. If the price did go down, then they will go ahead and, do the difference for you. So there will be a savings for you there, where you will now get your cruise at the lower rate. Now, there are instances, given the times that we're living in, where we see prices of cruises are going up. So where you can call and they'll say, no, the cruise that you have right now is the best rate because the price actually went up. And at that point, they don't do anything. But it doesn't hurt to call periodically to find out, hey, did my cruise go on sale? Is it at a lower rate, so you can get it? But the key is, it's prior to final payment date. Once you've made your final payment, then it is what it is. You can't get a change in the rate at that point. It's done. All right, guys. Now for the final tip, this is the bonus tip here. When you are planning your cruise, You do not want to book last minute. Okay, you want to book as early as possible. If there is anything that you see, any cruise that you see a year from now, 2 years from now or so, that you think that you might be interested in, don't sit and wait and say, oh, I'm gonna wait till the price goes down, because prices are not going down, okay? At least not with Royal Caribbean and some other cruise lines. Cruising is booming right now. A lot of people are wanting to do it because it's convenient and it's a nice way to vacation with, mostly everything's included. But you want to book early. You're booking early for the best rate. You're booking early for the best room that you want. Because remember, the further out you book, the lower the price is going to be because they have a lot of inventory at that point. The closer you wait to the sale date of whatever that cruise is that you're interested in going in, less inventory, prices go up even higher. So you see something you're interested in, book early, put down your deposit. If you're nervous about losing your deposit, there are always options of a refundable deposit, as well as, make sure you have travel insurance because you never know what life might do in a year or two from now. Have travel insurance. And also booking early gives you time to pay it off in increments as well, especially if it's a huge trip, But that is the tip. Book early. Don't make that mistake and wait around. There you have it. I hope you guys found this video helpful and maybe you learned something new, or maybe you have your own mistakes that you have done in the past and now you want to share so other people can avoid those mistakes. Feel free to share down below. We can always learn from each other. Hope you found this video helpful. And until the next time, guys, stay well and stay savvy. Bye for now.